Welcome to the Making Money in the Music Business podcast, where we share insightful views on a variety of topics in the music industry that can help you make more money from your music business. And now, here are your hosts, Dr. William E. Smith and Kenya McGuire Johnson. All right, Kenya, we're back.
We are back, Will. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. Podcast number 5.
Number 5. Those are the applause.
That'd be fun. Just applause. And maybe even the basketball sounds. Dun, 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 dun.
Yes, right.
That's that next level.
That's funny.
All right. Well, let's actually keep on the sort of near topic, and I paused you at the last podcast from talking about it, but let's go into it. How to put together your own performances, your own bookings, instead of relying on venues. Yes.
Amen. This is really cool, and this is really important, I think, for independent artists. This has really saved my career, I think, in a lot of ways financially. So when we're talking about money, because if I was just sitting waiting for venues to always book me, particularly earlier or some years back, I don't know, I'd be pretty stuck. And so I think this is a very, very important topic. And I think that independent artists, this is yet again where that music business hat becomes very relevant. And I know I have a lot of fellow independent artists who only book their own shows. They don't do any, don't have any people booking them. And they're very deliberate about that, in fact. So this is a popular, I think, concept and a really important one.
So before you jump in, let me ask you about those artists. Are they already established, or did they actually get their notoriety or get their following through doing these types of performances?
I think they got their notoriety by doing those types of performances.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, they have built a brand, and in fact, their followers now kind of almost expect that.
Wow.
Because now when you produce your own show, now you've set the whole scene more or less. Literally, like physically, and because you're controlling kind of how this whole presentation of your performance is going to be. And once people click into that and it's a good experience, the next time you perform, people are going to be expecting that. And so the artists that I know, for them, it's more a situation where they now kind of pride themselves, on their productions. Right. And so, yeah, that's how they've built it.
So I'll have to be honest that this is something that I've never actually done. I'm more on the traditional side of getting gigs where people call you for a gig, or it's sort of the word of mouth, or you have a regular performance that's sort of on the books. So that's sort of what I'm used to doing. So this is a great DIY approach to being an independent artist.
Yeah. I think it's an important DIY too. I do think, though, you have to be very honest with yourself as an artist, and that if you are not wired to be that organized planner, can handle multiple tasks at the same time and not go crazy, then I would say, be careful if you're trying to do your own production. But if you have found yourself, organizing kind of your own gigs anyway, and your own bookkeeping and your own, and have felt relatively, comfortable with it, I think, trying to produce start small. I always say this, start small, try it out.
Right.
And, you never really know. If you do it once and you hated it and it was miserable and you're like, oh, my God, never again, then, be honest to that. But I think you may be surprised. I kind of fell into it again because I was like, waiting on venues to dictate kind of my destiny just doesn't quite make sense to me. Like it just
right.
And I actually got triggered. I got triggered by there was a venue that I was trying to perform at, and I was gonna be. My husband is from Buffalo, New York,
right,
and we wanted me to. This was earlier in my music career, but it was enough. I had product. I had a band. I had. So we thought, okay, it's time to perform. I had performed, I believe, in Denver at that point, which is my hometown. Obviously, I had performed here in Chicago. So I felt ready. My husband's from there, so his family, cousins, god sisters, everybody. So nice. His mom is, in a sorority, and so she's, they got a lot of people. So we figured, this would be a nice thing. And so I approached a venue that was recommended for me to play at, and the venue basically was like, no. We don't book independent little people that we have no idea who they are. Surprise, surprise. But the guy said, if you want to rent out the space, if you just really need you need a space to perform, we have that option. And that's actually how that's how it got triggered for me. Wow. Yeah, that's how it got started. I was like, okay. And his fee really wasn't bad to rent out when I'd kind of played with the numbers and I thought about, well, my mother-in-law is telling me she can get this many people, and the venue seats this many people. And when I did the math, not only was I definitely going to break even by renting the venue, but I had the potential to make maybe more than what they would have paid me if they booked me.
Exactly.
Yep. Wow. And in fact, that's what happened. And actually the venue I think was a little hurt. They didn't really, because we sold out, we had the street team in full effect, and we basically, this was a 350 seater place, and we got 350
that'll
people.
show you to underestimate independent artists.
And they could have made a heck of a lot of money off of me that night. They definitely
exactly
way more than what they made with me paying the little fee they asked me to pay. And so when that went so well, that's kind of what inspired me. It showed me that I could do it. I'm like, I need help. I can't do this by myself, but I definitely can do it. And
so from a practical perspective, what in saying that you need help, what would be the areas where you need most of the assistance?
I would say, for me, the biggest help is always with marketing and promotions. Getting the word out that this show even exists.
Right.
Me just doing my little post on Facebook, that's just you can't do it like that. Yeah, it won't cut it. You gotta go beyond Facebook, believe it or not. And so I needed a lot of help with people just getting the word out, sharing, getting the tickets out. And then because that was at a space that I did not live in, I, needed a little bit of help from just making sure that the equipment and, everything that we were going to need that night, would be in place and would be set. The venue handled a lot of that. They had a back line. So,
that's what I was about to say. They had a back line. And
they had a back line.
They have the audio for the audience as well.
Yep. We really just had to come in. The musicians just came in with their instruments. They had a sound engineer. Perfect. I had to pay a little bit extra, obviously, to hire the sound engineer for the night, and the lighting guy for the night. But, and
did you have to get insurance?
No, because of the way that the contract basically that, I signed, you're more or less renting that venue. So it kind of, it always helps to have my company. I have insurance in place with my company. So no matter where I go, that clause just exists. And I would say that if you have a company or you're looking into getting incorporated or LLC or whatever, you need to do that. That way you're always, no matter kind of where you're represented, that's there. But yeah.
We'll actually have that as another show. You all definitely, if you're trying to be in the music business, you need to have a music business. So you you need to be incorporated. You need to have an LLC, even if it's and we'll go into what types of business structures you can set up. But you just on the basic level, any of this you can write off on your taxes and all that stuff. So you need to have an LLC. But go ahead and
yeah,
say what
no.
you're saying.
It was, and that's just really huge. I mean, yeah, we'd have to do a whole podcast on that. And it sounds more intimidating, honestly, than I think it is. Once you kind of learn the process and you understand, its intention and what it is, and it becomes established, then it kind of just runs. But it is it's a scary space to kind of look at from the outside. But yeah, those are probably the areas I need the help with. And then, just the moral
support.
Yeah, my husband, he's my number one, like, he literally saves me from jumping off that cliff pretty much, weekly. And, I'm not saying go get married and find someone who does that, but have somebody in your life. It can be a friend, a family member, whatever, a mentor, somebody that you can bounce some ideas off of, or when you get into a really challenge, and challenges are going to happen, they're inevitable.
Exactly.
So you just need that. But yeah.
Yeah, and I'll say the same. For me, my wife just gives me a whole different perspective on things, and just helps to make things a little bit more clearer.
Yes.
But even if you don't have that, and basically when I was running and doing all the things that I was doing, I wasn't married yet, so it was a bit nerve-wracking to try to accomplish some things on your own. And I did that,
Yeah, but I was going to say, and you can do it. I don't want to make people feel like, well, I don't have that. I don't have the social support. What happened is the more you allow yourself to be open to these ventures, there's going to be different people that are going to start walking in your life. And that's when you're going to be able to start developing some relationships. And, the universe has this very, 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 very magical way that that when you are opening yourself up to something that's worthy and productive and fulfilling and purposeful, that person's going to step in. It won't look like the person you thought it was going to look like. You thought it was going to be this man you're going to marry or this woman you're going to. Nope. It may actually just be little Hobble Bobble, but Hobble Bobble has a lot of, advice and can be a great mentor. And so, that's. So,
just be open. Be open.
Yeah, be open. Be open. Yeah.
So in setting up your own performances, you have, you've gotten a venue, you've negotiated the price, and you have some marketing support in place. You got the back line figured out. You have a sound engineer, lighting person, and then you have the tickets. So how do you structure that?
So that will vary depending on a couple of things. For instance, when I did that Buffalo event, they handled their own ticketing, so I couldn't go and use Eventbrite, which is a very common tool that people use for events. They had their own thing, and they were hooked to Ticketmaster. So as a part of our deal, they agreed to handle all tickets. That was a cushy deal because a lot of people don't, and they didn't, charge me extra and all this other stuff to do that. That was just kind of a part of their package, and their one flat fee covered all of that. But you do have some places where it may not be an actual venue, meaning a music venue, meaning maybe it's just a loft. It might just be this really cool open space that you envision as a space to be able to put a show on. And so when you select those types of venues, then yes, you're going to have, it's more work, because at that point you've got to get your own backline. You've got to find your own person for sound and sound engineering, which is critical, even more critical in a space that's not a venue, because that space may not really be good for sound. I need to repeat that.
And insurance.
And insurance.
And insurance.
I cannot urge. I mean, there are so many little cool little spaces now out there. People are, with the whole concept of Airbnb and peer space. I mean, you've got some cool little spaces out there that really make you feel like, ooh, I'm going to have this amazing event. And then you get in there and it's all cement and sound is echoing up, down, left, right, and
all over the place. Yeah. One big echo chamber.
One big echo chamber. So you really need to make sure. I know that I try very hard when I do my own productions, and I know other artists who do this, try to find those venues that either one, yes, are venues and, have the back line, or they try to find spaces that is used to hosting music events. So, you can have you know that it has a reputation of at least being able to give you what you need sonically and, otherwise to be able to do that. So. And
you would say you'd probably pay more for those types of venues?
Not necessarily.
That already have.
Well, you pay, I think it depends because, honestly, if you find some cool little nook, you might only pay a few $100s, but what's going to happen is the venue may be cheap, but yes, you're going to maybe ultimately pay more because now you got to get everything to make it to make it work. But with that, then that means, yes, you would need, for ticket wise, you would need to, Eventbrite is a source that a lot of people use. I personally really like, brown paper, I think is it called brown paper tickets? I think it's brown paper tickets. It's kind of a weird name. I know. Yeah. Brown paper tickets.
We'll find it and try to put a link to it in the show notes.
Yeah. I think, we'll have to find, I like them because, they, to me, financially, you get your money, quicker. Because when you're using Eventbrite and all that, you've got they're companies, so they're trying to make money too. So they can kind of sometimes hold your money until after the event. And Brown Paper Tickets does that. They have a feature where they'll hold it as well, but you could also have the option for it to go straight to PayPal, and it's not as the fee is not as high as some of the others. But at any rate, or if you have a really, really great website that, some website platforms, you can actually collect money. You can do your ticket sales directly from your website and just hook your PayPal, to your website. And so it just, you can do it that way. So yeah, there's a lot of options. Physical tickets, most people now, everything is online, but, the other nice thing about Brown Paper Tickets is they do have an option where you can get so many physical tickets without a whole lot of extra money to pay for that. So if you need to go old school, get in people's faces.
Right. Hand out stuff.
Yeah. So.
And also it's helpful to have free tickets to give away to press.
Absolutely. Yep. And you need to budget that then.
Right, exactly.
So, and beyond press, you may have some family or, I wouldn't say though, don't do this. Don't tell the band y'all can bring, 5 people up in here. No, you cannot.
Oh man. Yeah.
No, you cannot.
Very, very important message.
The band cannot do that. My band, they know me. It's like, they're lucky. They're like, can we bring one person? We do. We get to bring somebody.
But you're paying their ticket.
Yeah, right. So, but yeah, that you need to make sure you think about that when you're doing your estimates, your budget. And
now, do you go ahead?
No. Go ahead. No, you're fine.
I was going to ask about security.
Yeah, security usually depends on numbers and what again, the type of venue. If you're getting an established venue, they already have that in place. So that usually is just a part of comes with the package. If you are doing a space that is not is just a space, yes. If your numbers are over a certain number, they usually do require that you have somebody hired as security. I've never had to do a situation for a performance where I had to go and hire my separate security person. I've had parties in just life. I've had that, or we had to get security. But in my performances, I haven't had to do that yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, these are big considerations too, because that's why the other reason why we implore you to start a business, because if something happens and someone decides to sue you, you have a company set up that will keep your personal assets out of the lawsuit. So
yes. No, it's really important. And I would say if you're gonna, like I said, these other artists that I know I do a mixed bag. And I honestly do more now getting booked than I do probably of putting on my own productions. But had I not done my own productions, that is what allowed me to increase my draw and my following, and to be able to say, I performed at this venue, and they don't know. Like, for instance, the venue I performed in Buffalo is called the Trough, and the Trough is it's probably Buffalo's most major venue for soul and jazz music.
Right.
So your Robert Glasper, your Layla Hathaway, that's who they typically book. And so for me now, I can say I performed at the Trough. You know what I mean? It's like, whoa, you performed at the Trough.
Right,
now,
right.
I did my own production at the Trough, but, I did perform at the Trough, and that it's not so much, it's more of, wow, you were able to have those kind of numbers at a venue like the Trough, becomes really telling and important. So.
Yeah. And in essence, you're actually adding another hat to your business and to what you do. You're being your own promoter.
Right.
And instead of relying on a promoter to bring you out to a venue or whatever it is, you're just being that. You're being your own promoter. So
and I'm so glad you just said that, because I think that we get caught for whatever reason with music. And I think I understand why this happens, but we really get caught in that Hollywood glamour interpretation of what it means to be a performer or an artist.
Right.
And so we think things should just kind of come to us and that, we're just going to wait to be found because we're so great, and
right.
that's just not the reality, honestly, for anybody kind of in the music these days. I mean, it's, your more even established artists are having to get more hungry and having to get more involved. So that promotion piece, hiring a promoter or whatever, I am not a big promoter girl. I just, even when I get booked for a venue, it's typically the venue then that's promoting the show and me. So they're doing what they need to do to get their numbers, and I'm doing what I need to do to bring the people in. We don't really have this middle guy who is helping. And because that has worked for me really well, then I really don't, getting a promoter really doesn't pop in my head. And it's not that I'm not, I'm not against it. I think I've had maybe 2 promoters that I really worked with. One of my UK tours was completely a promoter that handles everything. Obviously that was very helpful because it was international and so forth. But I've also gone over there and did, the last time I went, it was with 2 other artists, and we self-promoted, self-produced, self-everything, that thing. And it was that was going to
be my next question. Well, it's sort of a comment question. It's like, I think it would be a better approach if you actually teamed up with another artist or another couple artists.
Yep, absolutely. And be honest about who you're coupling up with. You gotta make sure that artistically it makes sense. And then back to what we were saying, that work ethic thing. You don't want to be the artist that's touring with a bunch of other artists who aren't pulling their weight. And
exactly.
If everybody is doing this and we got an artist over here and he's just comment when it's time to get on the stage,
going along, for the ride, exactly. Not contributing anything. What are you bringing to the table?
No. So, I've done that.
Divvy up the tasks. One person handle the back line, one person handle, getting promotion, or I mean, everybody does promotion. I mean, you have your own band, but just divvy up the tasks of what's what's needed to book the event.
And it, for us, when I did that with 2 artists. and going to London. One is Gwendolyn Collins. The other, her name happens to also be Kenya. I know the irony in that is crazy. She's Kenya soul singer. I'm just Kenya. But we did that together. And Gwendolyn was definitely she is like chief organizer. Like she's really, really detailed, and so we kind of try to use people for what they do well. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so
exactly.
Kenya Soul Singer is really, really great with graphics and things like that. So, and voiceovers. So for when we had promotional videos and stuff, she was able to pull those together.
Perfect.
So yeah, it's, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat when you're doing your own production. And, I do want to say, though, that I think that you should be prepared. It is a lot of work. It is not, I don't think it's for the faint of heart. I don't think it's simple. It has a lot of legs to it. But I do think it's a good exercise. And I encourage, when my clients from Creating Crimson, I do encourage them to put on, however small, it needs to be their own something, whether it be a showcase,
exactly.
Whether it be a house concert where you maybe go to a friend's house, invite some people over, and make the night a more formal occasion than just some friends listening to some music. Just something so that you can get a taste of that, and you can also be able to kind of dictate a little bit more of people hearing you. So yeah, I think it's
I would think that would be a nice little angle depending on your craft or your style of music. And I know we have a mutual friend that does house concerts, Maritri. That's a really nice angle to promote your music and to get really loyal fans.
Absolutely. House concerts are becoming like the thing for singer-songwriters, even jazz, maybe, musicians that obviously are doing more live, and more not needing a whole, band. Maybe it's just you and your instrument, or you have one accompaniment. It is definitely becoming a really in thing, and a lot of, it's getting hard to get booked for those because you've got companies now that manage house concerts.
Wow.
Yeah. And you try to get on the roster, of that company so that you can get, I say, that's one way to skin that cat, but also understand, you have friends that live in a house or that live in places. And that's another way to do a tour, is to just do a house concert tour.
Well, we can go back to back in the day when they did rent parties.
Yes, yes.
Raise the rent.
Yes, there's so many creative ways now with technology too. They've even got now streaming places where you can put on your show like in your own house or your own backyard, and then on social media or online, people pay like a little small fee and they just click and they can watch you. And now look, what your overhead was nothing. You know what I mean? But people still had to pay a little bit of, something to watch
just
you.
To participate. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's perfect. So
yeah.
That's I think this topic here is actually one of the things that's going to help a lot of indie artists really create their own revenue stream and build their own business, because waiting on a venue is just it's basically giving the keys to somebody else for your business.
It can be really, and it's an ego crusher too sometimes. I mean, because you may be thinking I'm no good or whatever because people aren't booking me. And that's not the case. And hopefully we kind of made that clear in our, Getting Gigs podcast, that venues are, they're looking at the business of this, way more than they are the actual, talent sometimes. And so, it can get very overwhelming as a beginning independent artist to never be getting booked for things. And so I do think it's worth, taking action. And like you said, partnering with other independent artists. Maybe it's not that you're doing a whole tour, but there's maybe there's two other local artists, and it's like, guys, let's just put on our own showcase together. And keep it small and simple.
Right.
I've done that so many times, just locally here in Chicago, when I was first starting. So that's, there's a lot of ways. And if you like the idea, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, that sounds cool, but I just still feel like, I don't get it. That's one of the things I know for my coaching. I help with that. And I really hold hands with you on that because,
Right.
we're giving you kind of a broad stroke of the things you need to do, but there's a lot of minutia and, nuance in there that you have to be thinking about. And, I know that, Will on one hand could, be talking to you a little bit about the, this is the overall thing you need to be thinking about financially for what you're trying to do. And then I kind of get a little bit more in the detail. Okay, week 2, you need to get action 1, 2, and 3 taken care of.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a lot to do, and I know that if I had that mind back when I was really doing a lot of touring, I probably would have started doing that. But yeah, it was a different world, and I'm saying back when it's really only like maybe like 5 to 10 years ago.
I know, and things are moving so quick. Like I even feel like I can't keep up. I mean, people are putting on their own things in so many creative ways now. I mean, you've got people now. I know some musicians now here in Chicago. They're doing these like series. So instead of touring, instead of going, in all these other cities, they're doing
that's perfect.
Yeah, they're doing kind of this series. That's
fantastic.
Yeah, and it allows, and they have a different theme, so that keeps it different. So that it's not like you're just doing the same songs every month or whatever. But in this series, they're making it so cool. There's this one band out here where they're doing, it's like a live recording performance. So when you come,
like Snarky Puppy type thing.
Snarky Puppy set that off. A lot of people are taking that concept and just, making it a little bit more scaled down. So particularly from instrumentalist bands, you do this series where you bring in a singer each month. And so you become like that house band that, so you guys are getting a chance to still play regularly. And then you've got different singers, being able to come in and you get a different experience. Yeah. So there's some cool ways that people are skinning cats when I say skinning a cat, meaning, there's different ways to do this.
And you can actually start doing art shows and even having dancers or what type of music you do, it depends.
Right.
But, just have all types of multimedia presentations to really, ramp up what you're doing.
Yep. Wow.
Beautiful.
Yeah. No, you're inspiring me. I'm like, wait a minute. I need to start a new series.
It's like, hold on. I mean, it's fantastic. Yeah, this is great. Great stuff.
Yeah. And then ultimately, financially, obviously that's the goal, when you're doing, just keep in mind when you're doing these things, always try to plan to break even at least. You do not want a loss on this because that will just really kind of depress you even more to do all this work to just have a loss. Try your hardest to budget things in a way where you're being incredibly conservative, and that, you are trying to, at a very, very, very minimum, break even. So it may mean that you might not be able to have as many musicians on this gig, or it may mean that you're not going to be able to have background vocals, vocalists, and you're not going to be able to have the lighting, guy turn red and purple on you. Like, I mean, it may be these different things. But that's okay because you want to build, you got to build. So you start off, a little bit small.
And one other piece is if you have connections or you've done enough local shows that people really like you, you can count on a certain draw. This may be something that you can actually bring to a sponsor.
Yes. And then they will pay for it. Right.
There
if it
you
starts
go.
to have a really, really, and I'm so glad you said this, Will. I've been talking about on these podcasts, this event I have coming up called Art Voices Matter, which is,
Right.
it's not shows, but it's master classes, workshops. There is a performance element by each artist that's presenting. But it's funny, a lot of people have said to me, well, who's sponsoring it? And I'm like, can you MJ Music Productions? And while, yes, I have a sponsorship package and, trying to kind of get the word out there to bigger entities that we're doing this, my expectation is by no means that somebody's just going to swoop in and do this because we've never done this before.
Right.
I'm merely trying to get on people's radar. That is it. I'm just trying to get on your radar. And so this is a huge investment yet again in my world. But I believe in it. And I believe that, if we can make this successful, and have good attendance and or good experiences. It doesn't even have to, because the beauty of a master class is that you don't need so many people as much as you need a really wonderful experience.
Right.
Because you're trying to connect. Yeah. But if we are able to do that, now I can go to those sponsors and say, look, we created this experience for these many, people and artists and so forth. So it's the same idea when you're trying to get other people to invest in you. You got to show that they're worth investing in you.
Exactly. It's success breeds success. And when you have the numbers and the track record, it's a no-brainer for any business that they know that so many eyeballs will see their product and want to be a part of that experience. So, I mean, you're right on point. So that's why I was saying, after you've built up, so many shows or even if this is your first show, but you've been performing the first show that you're doing on your own, but if you've been performing in venues for however long, and the whatever sponsor sees that track record, they'll be more willing to give you, even if it's a small amount, just for product placement, hand out whatever, like beer, what do you call them things? Those beer snuggies or whatever it is, something small, some token that they can promote their business.
Right. Something where they can promote it. Yes. So yeah, there's different ways that people, you can do also in kind of donations. When you were talking about that, it made me think of I do this for you, we do that for you, that kind of deal.
Exactly.
To get people on board.
Yeah, it's just a matter of keeping your costs down and also maximizing your profit at the same time. So that's it.
And think about that, guys. Please don't get caught up in, this song, I don't like that part. That's important. But if you're putting too much money on the front end on this and it's just not making sense and there's no way you would ever recoup that financially to do your own show, that means don't do your own show. That's my belief. You should never put yourself to me. I when I have produced my own things, I've many a time had said, well, I can't do this production because financially it makes no sense. It just doesn't make sense. And, me charging people all these crazy dollars is the only way that I can, it's just, now there are times where, if you're doing like a major kind of a really big thing, that may be harder to break even. And so you may have to, it becomes more of an investment because, the next thing, will help out, or you're preparing for that next thing. But if you're just trying to do a little, a small, you just want to perform, you want to have some people to come out to hear you. Maybe you're going to partner with another artist.
Right.
There's no reason to lose money in doing something quaint and, reasonable like that.
Yeah. If you can only bring in 50 people and you're going to charge $20 a ticket, that's
your budget.
$1,000.
That's your budget, right?
That's your budget. So you know, you just got to be real. If that's your budget, then you have to you can't bring in, 5 musicians at
Thank you, Will.
You know,
Oh my God. Oh my God. You guys, are you listening to this? I say this. That's your budget. So why do we have 50 people on the stage, and everybody brought home $2? Really, guys?
You got to be realistic. I mean, you might sell maybe, have 25 CDs at $10. So that's $250. So your budget is $1,250. So, just be realistic about it.
Exactly. And it's funny that because I am starting, I do think I may produce my own holiday show here in Chicago. Okay. That's a little, I slipped the goods, right? That's an exclusive, I'm not sure yet. I don't know yet, but, I was doing the numbers and I thought about it and I'm just like, am I, because the other thing is now for me, the challenge I'm coming into, because I am a little bit more at another level in my music career, my musicians, I try very hard to pay them at a certain level. So if I'm asking them now to come do this wonderful, great, extravagant show, but oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to pay you the least I've ever paid you, or maybe less than we've never. That's not working. You know what I mean? That's not working. And so
musicians always expect more during the holidays.
Yep. So that's what made me like, back to the drawing board, but I have a concept in my head of what I'd like it to kind of be like. So, we'll see. But notice what time of the year it is. It is May.
There you go.
And I'm already, which is another part of, with Creating Crimson, what I would do, if you are interested in talking a little bit more about putting on your own production, I definitely, time management and how you go about timing of the production is a critical piece. So the earlier, the better.
and just along those lines too, there's pick up the Making Money in the Music Business book that I have out. And it'll give you a lot of these concepts too. And you can get that at Making Money in the Music biz.com.
Yes.
And I'm also a coach with Kenya on Creating Crimson. So if you want to book a consultation through Creating Crimson, go to her site at
creatingcrimson.com. And we are, because we are like getting into summer, and summer is usually when people are feeling a lot more carefree and happy. The sun is out. So I try to I've got some summer deals right now so that we can make things, affordable for people, and, so that you can get this. You really, you need this information, guys. Will's book is amazing, and it's something that honestly I told him I don't know many books out there that really are giving you that kind of actual go use it, information. Some of it can be kind of really lofty and hard to kind of, but he's done a nice job to really help break it down. And then on top of that, he can do a whole consultation with you so that you're getting that kind of verbal guidance along with what he, is talking about.
And answering specific questions. A lot of people's approaches in businesses are tailored to them, and they're different. So for every situation, there's a specific approach that you have to take. And I'm just giving you the general concepts. So it's really important to know how to approach it from where you are.
Yep. So
great.
Well, this has been great. Yet again, we've got some more really wonderful information.
Really key, important information. Yeah, I learned a lot actually from this one. This was really good.
Well, I got inspired. I'm like, oh my God, I got to go do my own show. No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't know if I'm doing that quite yet, but yeah. No, this is
great.
Good stuff.
It was great.
Good stuff. All right.
Perfect. Well, I can't wait for next week.
I can't either. And this is my shameless plug again. Arts Voices Matter it's right around the corner. Our first one is June 17th. So I'm pushing that. You're gonna have some other artists talking about pretty much reiterating and emphasizing the things that Will and I have been talking about. So if you are interested in attending, registration is still open. The series is from June through October. And if you go to artvoicesmatter.com, you'll see from MC Light to Foreign Exchange to Cloud McKnight from Take Six. A lot of really good people to learn from. So
perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again.
Thank you guys. We'll talk to you next time.